this is an interesting premise. Is it long enough to actually get to know this person? Find out, and everybody was like normal, and it was just some like dudes who thought that they could kind of skirt the rules and thought they were being sneaky and a little like creepy and kind of predatory by like, oh, well, they're foreign and they want to live in America and they don't really know anything. And then somehow it progressed over the course of the seasons into just like watching people ruin their lives on live television. Like, it's crazy. It is crazy.
I'm having fun watching you become everything that you hate. That's what I'm doing. I'm just sitting over there watching. I'm just like seeing the degradation of you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Turn into
the kindle, the coals of self-hatred are a fire in my chest.
Ever complained about, and that whiny bitch ass voice you are becoming.
No, listen. Like, I understand. Like, I have access. We just got Criterion and everything. Mm-hmm. And I have access to the entire like lexicon of human film virtually across all these different platforms that we have to subscribe to. I like all these masterpieces of cinema, and what I choose to watch is 90 Day Fiance.
90 Day Fiance.
Well, okay, this is you now. You like it? You feel good?
Think about what all the shit that you're overlooking. Think about all the shit, all the African Americans worthy who have done great things. Mm-hmm. That's right. A great film, and you're overlooking them. You can watch 90 Day Fiance.
Yeah, man.
And I sit here.
It's gripping. I gotta tell you, man.
I sit here not in judgment, but as a person who does watch $1 Million Listing Los Angeles and New York.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I am a fan of trash TV, but it has to be real estate specific.
Okay. All right.
It has to be. It's talking about $1 million deals with the coastal elites. Who still who are on Fox News and on Bloomberg. Everybody on that show
watching One America News on a giant 52-inch plasma screen TV as the only way to watch
tax laws and so you can buy a house, so you can buy as a Chinese billionaire, so you can have your kids claim residency in the United States, so they can go to USC.
So they can go to UFC, or where they can get an American education and then go back to China and help them overtake the world by we're experiencing major brain drain with our own scientists, partially due to discrimination and all that shit. So it's all right, you don't want us here, we'll go the fuck to India and we'll go to China and we'll develop it, and then we'll overtake your economy and then we'll get the last laugh, dipshit. And it's like, okay, well.
Yeah, cool. No, we know. Yeah, that's I don't know why you took it to serious policy talk right now.
We took a sharp left.
No, I didn't. I was doing $1 Million Listing, which is a great show. But hey, guys, we don't know how to start the show. Guys, thank you for coming to another episode of Hard Fight History. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for coming back. Thank you, some of you, for joining us for the first time.
That's right.
Please like us, share, follow us on all the things.
Rate,
Hard Fight History,
review, subscribe, all that.
And without further ado, we're going to get into the episode today. And we don't know how to start this podcast.
Not usually.
We're going to start. So today, guys, we're doing Bass Reeves. You don't know this name. A lot of people don't, but he is probably the most prolific lawman, the most prolific gunfighter in the entirety of the Old West. And he is an African-American deputy U.S. Marshal that roamed mainly Oklahoma, really only Oklahoma, in the period after kind of during Reconstruction, all the way up till I think till about 1914. Bass Reeves is Henry. Do you know who did you know who Bass Reeves is before we kind of started looking at this?
Not prior to, no.
Yeah, it's a people don't know who he is, but it's like a lot of stuff may be based on him. You don't know. You don't know. But without further ado, the book that I read is Black Gun, Silver Star: The Life and Legend of a Frontier Marshal, Bass Reeves, Race and Ethnicity in the American West, by Art T. Burton, published in 2006. And one thing you gotta know about like Bass Reeves, the kind of especially black lawmen during this period, is that like these aren't like singular cases. There are a lot of like black U.S. Marshals. There's black sheriffs. It just seems like when Jim Crow hit, that's when they all just fucking disappeared. like in our lexicon, they just all disappeared and like burst out of our imaginations.
Hmm.
But they existed, and specifically in the Oklahoma territory, and we'll get into why later. So like some people say the Lone Ranger is actually based on Bass Reeves.
Huh.
So you have like he rode the Lone Ranger rides a white horse. Bass Reeves was kind of known for a certain period of his career riding a gray horse that was very light, almost white. He always had native like assistants. The Lone Ranger, Bass Reeves always picked up as posse men since he worked in Oklahoma. He always picked up native posse men.
That's cool.
People say the Black Mask could be, this is all speculatory, but people say the Black Mask could be you're a black person hiding in plain sight in America. The Lone Ranger wears that black mask. Is this just this author trying to get this book off the ground in an exciting way?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Black Gun Silver Star is the book is. It's like if you want a serious like and analysis of every single case, like a lot of cases that Bass Reeves did, and like what I mean by that is like he's a federal marshal, so like all of his shit is like very detailed because he has to send in these reports.
Yeah,
he's always asking for writs.
It's probably like public domain too, or you can find it on LOC or something.
So what R.T. Burton does is he just goes through and highlights a lot of the cases, and we're gonna get more into what those cases were like, who he was arresting, why he was arresting them later. Just some more kind of legends about Bass Reeves. So they're like stories and kind of folklore in Oklahoma that you'll get about him, like that, like he had like superhuman strength. Because like one time he was there was like a full-grown steer stuck in the mud, and like he rode up not saying anything to anybody, like 4 men to try to get this steer out, and then he just fucking lifted the steer out, and then he got back on his horse and rode away. Okay. You know what I mean?
They got a boss, no words exchanged.
No words exchanged.
That's gonna be the steer out of the mud.
Yeah,
and then I'm off.
That's gonna be his whole fucking MO. The man doesn't say many words. He cannot. And if he does say words, they're usually, "I got a writ. I got a writ with your name on it.
I got a writ. You've been using fake bills out here, and I'm here to bring you in, kid."
Or it's like Bible verses. That's like he's a man of few words.
This is a frontier man.
And when he says them, they are harsh.
Okay, sweet. I'm about this classic image of like a sheriff.
Yeah.
Marshall don't say much.
He don't say much.
He's a man of few words, but he gets the job done.
So another story is the skunk story. Like apparently he had his posse, and he was like they had camped for the night with some outlaws. A skunk like walked up and like basically just came up and like basically started sleeping with Bass, and everybody woke up and was like, "What the fuck? There's a skunk right there!" And then like because they didn't want to get sprayed,
and then like Bass Pepe Le Pew,
and Bass was like, just kind of sweet talk the skunk, and the skunk just left.
All right.
See,
okay. It's okay, cool.
There's the lynching story where they're about to lynch this guy, like a lynching party had assembled, and Bass Reeves doesn't say a word, just rides up, cuts the guy down, rides off with him, and everybody was in shock, like, "What the fuck? You can do that?"
Okay, I'm glad that he took him with, because I just thought he might have just cut him down and then left. And like, you know what's going to happen as soon as you leave, right? You got to take him.
If this was the Texas Rangers, they would have shot him.
They would have shot both of them. Right? Just like, all right.
Everybody gets shot here.
Everybody gets shot. That's not how we do it. Yes. You're insubordinate, damn it.
So it's a lot of stories like that, and especially like because he's black, and this is like his legend, has the opportunity to grow or kind of disappear in the era of Jim Crow. Like these are still legends. So there's not a lot of like research done about them. There's not a lot of stuff. The stories weren't matriculated through and then cut through and examined time after time after time again, like you see with Wyatt Earp or you see with Wild Bill Hickok.
Yeah. Well, also make it because like in the era of Jim Crow, who's going to bother to research it? Like you said, they would almost like want to let it die, you know?
Is you had like black people doing that, but like he just doesn't. He didn't get a lot of, you know. There's kind of more black Oklahoma people, but it's kind of stayed within Oklahoma. It's kind of strange. So, and there might be some reasons for that. And he was also known to not like have a fancy gun. He had like always carried a black ordinary gun, and like he would said he was like great. He was great with the pistol, but he was only fair with the rifle. And when they mean like he was fair with the rifle, they said like this is another legend that there were 6 wolves out on the Oklahoma prairie and they like were about to attack, and he killed 6 wolves with 8 bullets. You know what I mean? Calling him fair with the rifle. You know what I mean? And they're calling him fair because he like hit one wolf in the leg and another wolf in the gut, and he had to use the last 2 bullets.
So he wasted 2 shots, and that's why he's only fair.
That's why he's fair with the rifle.
I mean, that's kind of a high bar to vault, you know.
Yeah,
if this were me, I just would have been eaten by wolves.
Yeah,
you know.
No,
I feel like most of us just would have been eaten by these wolves.
And this is a Old West humble brag. That's what that is.
Yeah.
We're like, it took me 8 bullets to kill those 6 wolves.
That were about to eat me, those 8 ravenous, rabid, bloodthirsty wolves that I killed. But
he also has this thing where he like throws coins, like a very old Western. He like throws has a lot of silver dollars because he being a deputy U.S. Marshal, very profitable. So he's always like throwing coins at anybody who's like for services or anything, just fucking flicking
it like ding.
Kind of reminiscent of like a Clint Eastwood and like some of the shit, you know what I mean?
Okay,
some of these
cool.
Wild West movies. So kind of getting more to the person that was Bass Reeves and getting out of the legend. July 1838, he was born in Crawford County, Arkansas, and he was named after his grandfather, Bass Washington. His family was enslaved by Arkansas state legislator William Still Reeves. And at 8, William Still Reeves moved his family and his enslaved African people to Grayson County, Texas, near Sherman, Texas, in what was known as Peter's Colony. I think it was like an earlier settlement of Texas.
Okay.
And Bass was like the stable boy. He was like the blacksmith's helper. He like became his master's companion. And I'm not sure if it didn't really distinguish whether that was with William Still Reeves or his son later. It seems to kind of flow between both of them. And like his mother was like also like the favorite like house servant slave lady. In the black community, we call these house niggas.
Mm-hmm.
They like which is not something you really want to be. You know what I mean? Nowadays, you want to be more on the rebellious side, but back then, this was like his mother took pride in that her whole family was like in the house, and they were all cozy up with these white people. So George Reeves, who is like William Still Reeves' son, he's a sheriff, he's a legislator, and at some point before the Civil War, Bass Reeves becomes George Reeves' slave. And he was Bass was like taught by either George Reeves, and again, this is kind of not distinguishable, either by George Reeves or by his father, William Reeves, how to shoot guns. Which you have to really be like a house slave, like
I see what you
to
mean.
like your master's like, yo, I'm going to teach you how to shoot guns when it is in all your interest to shoot me in my fucking head. like and that made me a little bit weirded out by, I'm not gonna lie, by Bass Reeves, because like he was given that much trust by his slave master.
So I'm gonna teach you how to shoot this weapon. Yeah.
So like it was said that that
I'm not going to teach you how to read, but I'll teach you how to shoot. I'm going to teach you how to
shoot.
Read,
did not teach him how to write. Did none of that, but taught him how to use guns. And it was said that like the reason he did it was that they did it was because whoever taught him was such a poor shot. And also he would the slave master would enter Bass into like competitions, like turkey shoots, that he would win against white and black people. And it's like, and from there, that's where he kind of learns about guns. I would like to think it's more the sheriff, but it also could be his father, William Still Reeves, that taught him how to use guns. I mean, uh, sorry. So moving on, like George Reeves is second in command of the 11th Texas Cavalry, and when the Civil War comes around, Colonel George Reeves takes Bass to the Civil War as a servant. And this is kind of it Bass basically serves in the Confederate Army alongside George Reeves.
That sucks.
It was just a weird, it's a weird part of history about like the the Confederates.
Yeah.
Black people. Because it was like you had like certain units like from New Orleans and like Charleston that were like more like free black people that had like particular their own units that were like Confederate units. But then like the majority of black people who actually like served for the Confederacy were house servants who were enslaved people who had no fucking choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the other stuff was like a one-off rarity. So
I think
and then like press gangs where they would like just do like they had to like do construction and shit. What were you about to say?
There was the I think it's the 2nd and 3rd Mississippi, but I think they were Union. They were like 2 Union regiments of escaped enslaved people from Mississippi. So they have a monument of it, I think, at the Vicksburg site.
So you would have like stuff like that New Orleans regiment of like that was made of like Creole, Creole kind of freed people, or Creole Louisiana, like kind of mulatto, half black, half French, all these different type of people. That served for the Confederacy for like the first year, and then once the Union came, then they became Union soldiers because they were just doing whatever they thought was in their best interest, kind of defined on how they felt about it. So moving forward, Bass Reeves, of course, fights alongside his owner at the Battle of Pea Ridge in 1862. Chickamauga in 1863, and Missionary Ridge in 1863. And interesting thing about Pea Ridge, where Bass Reeves is, Wild Bill Hickok is a Union sharpshooter at Pea Ridge, and Texas Ranger, who we talked about in a previous episode, Ben McCullough, dies at Pea Ridge. So the end of Bass Reeves' Confederate soldiership, if you want to call it, or service in the Confederate Army, ends when he has a disagreement with his owner over a card game, and it's assumed like that they accused Reeves of cheating. He'd say he didn't cheat. This is what I think I remember that correctly. And then he beats the shit out of his owner, George Reeves, and knowing he just beat the shit out of his slave owner, he dips and he escapes into the wilderness that is Oklahoma at this time. You know what I mean? So at this time, some people say like, he joined the Union, like First Indian Home Guard, which was like a collection of like freedmen, escaped slaves, Creek and Seminole Indians that fought like the Confederacy in like a real kind of guerrilla warfare style in Oklahoma during the Civil War. Some people say he was a sergeant in that. Whatever happened like during these years and after his escape, in the years like kind of recently after the Civil War, he learned Oklahoma like the back of his hand. He also learned numerous native languages, Seminole, Creek. I think he learned Cherokee.
That's pretty sweet. So we can at least establish he was around indigenous this time period, for but intimately around them if he's knowing all these languages.
So I think I mean, it seems pretty certain that he like fought he was doing something along those trails in those Indian territories where they were where the Confederacy was having clashes with this first Indian Home Guard.
Okay, that's pretty cool. This would be like 64.
Yeah, this is 64.
Okay.
So 64 is also seemingly around when he had his first child, because in the 1870 census, he has a wife named Jenny and he has 4 children. The eldest being 6.
That makes sense.
And he's also relocated his mother and sister, and they all live in Van Buren, Arkansas. and his occupation is listed as a farm laborer.
Okay.
So here's the thing about Van Buren. Van Buren, Fort Smith, these are places where the U.S. Marshals kind of launched from. You know what I mean? So it's kind of suggested that he was kind of around Van Buren because he was trying to get on with the U.S. Marshals or get work for them as a posse man.
Like, hey, I'm hanging out, you know?
Yeah. And like
when you go to a show that you're not on, but
yeah,
you know the guy, and maybe he'll be nice and throw you 5 minutes, you know?
it's kind of like I have a certain set of skills. I have a certain set of skills. You know, when you're a fucking pipe fitter, you go where they fit pipes.
That's right.
When you're a fucking when you fucking can murder people and hunt people by whatever, you go where they hunt fucking people. So that was happening in what is now Western Arkansas at the time.
I wonder if I wonder if the U.S. Marshals launched from Van Buren in part to like fight the Klan during Reconstruction, because that's like a hotbed, I'm pretty sure. And if they're at like a strategic location where they can snuff this shit out real quick, or at least attempt to, that would kind of make sense if that was like a Reconstruction policy.
We're going to get into what Oklahoma is specifically, because Oklahoma has a very different history during this time than the other states where like the Klan is running rampant in Reconstruction. So sometime in 1875, Reeves was approached about becoming a deputy U.S. Marshal, and he under the jurisdiction of Judge Isaac Parker out of Fort Smith, Arkansas. This was like that Fort Smith court is like super famous. I don't know if you've seen True Grit.
Yeah,
that's what that is. So that's where he rode out of. That place, like that old John Wayne movie. The Matt Damon was in the last one.
That's the place. I think wasn't that Montana?
No, that was Fort Smith.
Arkansas. They have C.F. Smith, but I'm not sure.
No, I'm sure. Like it's Fort Smith, because I saw both those movies in my like Western movie. I don't know what the fuck I even call it. In where I just indulge myself in that shit. It's for Arkansas. So Fort Smith sits right close to like the border of Oklahoma, and what it was now Indian Territory, and that court was responsible as a federal court for that whole territory. Now, this would like involve like marshals leaving Fort Smith with a warrant and going on a trip, like basically usually going on a trip from Fort Smith to Fort Reno to Fort Sill to Anadarko, and gathering prisoners in a distance that would like be like 400 miles.
Okay.
And this is also where the Missouri, Kansas, in Oklahoma at this time, this is where the Missouri, Kansas, and Texas Railroad like go through this area, and they serve as like a line of departure. Like, because once lawmen got outside of Fort Smith and they crossed that MK&T railroad track, everybody knew like, oh, this was like, you're taking your life into your own hands at this point. It was known like by everybody as the deadline.
And
that's that pretty,
like spooky, you know.
And that outlaws would leave warnings to law enforcement saying like, this is like where you're taking your life into your hand. You can die here. And Bass Reeves, like years later, said to like he would pull out numerous messages like that were particularly marked at him.
Wow.
So it's like this is a time when like Oklahoma is kind of a breeding ground of like outlaws, because it's really the Indian territory. I mean, at this time, it is the Indian territory.
Yeah.
So you have outlaws including like Bell Star, the Dool and Dalton gang, Cherokee Bill, Greenleaf, Ned Christie, for if you can call him not really an outlaw, and much more that are like circulating. Every like horse thief, you know what I mean? Anybody who's committed a murder or rape, anything, just flees in Oklahoma, because there's the Indian police, but there's no state thing. You know what I mean? And a lot of it's a wilderness. There was also like the Seminole and Potawatomi, I don't know how to say it, Potawatomi trails. And they were frequented by bootleggers and horse thieves, and they intersected at Fort Sill and in Anadarko. So it was like this real area of just like a lot of crime was flowing through this area in every which way. So kind of getting more to what U.S. Marshals did at this time. When he left his so for Bass Reeves, when he left Fort Smith, he would take his wagon, he would take a cook, and he would take a possman, and they call that an outfit. And for a 30-day trip, Reeves said he never came back with less than $400 in expenses. At this time, that's a crazy amount of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, never came back with less than $400.
Yeah.
In expenses.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much like a hotel room would cost or anything like that, but you need ammunition, I suppose. Maybe you need to buy a horse or something. Maybe you need to outfit that horse.
Yeah.
But if he already has a horse, but I mean, your horse can get shot or whatever.
They would like give him like 10 cents per mile, like 70. I think it was like 75%, 75 cents per day to like feed a convict. And if you cut any money off that, you feed them for 50 cents.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
That's how you got to do it, bro. And then you have to claim the whole 75 cents on your return. You know, that's how you do it.
Of course, no,
you make him eat grass.
Hey, IRS, I don't do that. So the deputy U.S. Marshals and the U.S. Marshals, they made arrests for murder, attempted murder, manslaughter, assault with intent to kill or maim, arson, robbery, rape, burglary, larceny, incest, adultery, and willingly and maliciously placing obstructions on railroad tracks.
Okay, so to kill or maim. Have you ever? I feel like the maim is not with intent to. Because it just doesn't make any sense. If you're trying to maim somebody, what makes anyone think you would just stop at maiming them? Like intent to kill. Why is intent to maim necessary?
I think they're old timey and they're just saying stuff.
They're just throwing words. If I'm just saying, if I'm in the mood to maim someone, odds are I'm probably going to kill them as well. You know what I mean? I'm not going to, but in this hypothetical scenario, if I'm maiming somebody, I'm probably going to kill them. You know? Not that I ever would, but if
when you only know 50 words, you try to always use those 50
You want to show off. You gotta
show off because in this town, everybody only knows 10 words. So
you drop maim.
You drop maim.
Did you have intent to maim? Oh.
Look at motherfucking smarty pants here. Like that's what happens. Like so, they also made arrests for for revenue laws and like introducing of liquor, but these depended more on the jurisdictions. And for like the more serious crimes, like, murder and stuff like that, they warranted, you needed a warrant, but it wasn't mandatory. You know what I mean?
Cool. Dope. Police state. All right, cool.
It was desired. Like I said, desired. I was like, desired should really be mandatory.
Yeah. I just brought him in, he looked at me funny. All right. I brought him in.
More on Fort Smith and the Indian Territory. Of course, this is the Indian Territory that all of, this is what they're called, all the indigenous people are being pushed into at this time. Of course, the 5 civilized tribes, as they've civilized with quotations around it because, the white people were civilized. But all that stuff. The Seminoles, Cherokee, Creek, who now, the Creek, who now go by the Muskogee. That's where the Creek Nation is. I forgot to mention that earlier.
And Apache too, I guess.
Yeah,
like
Apache,
toward the later 19th.
The Comanche are getting pushed in here by now. It's basically everybody, Choctaw, all of the Americans are being pushed into this one area. And Fort Smith is the federal jurisdiction that kind of handles that, specifically on the court. From May 1875 to September 1896, Judge Isaac Parker, who everybody called the hanging judge, tried 13,490 criminal cases and won better than 8,500 convictions. The court was in session 6 days a week, from 7:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. And from 1875 to 1889, there was no appeal on Judge Parker's decisions, except in the rare case that like the president would intervene. Parker sentenced 88 men to hang, and only 79 did. One was killed during escape. One died before he could be hung, and 7 won reversals when it became possible to in 1891. So it's
So
like
who is Parker's the guy
he's
that
the judge. He's the
Reeves is
judge.
working under? Oh,
No,
okay.
he's the judge that like you take all the warrants to.
Okay.
So they're all just working kind of under this like this Parker guy who like is signing warrants for people, and then they're bringing this guy back to face the hanging judge, which everybody
Mm,
called him that because he was super fucking. He just was.
yeah.
He says a lot of people die.
Yeah.
Like, and you know what I mean?
Man, you think about it, like the body counts of all of the Western outlaws and
Yeah.
stuff, and fucking Billy the Kid, I think at most is like 11 or
Mm-hmm.
14, at
Yeah.
least two. Jesse James probably is closer to like 30 or 40, but the
Yeah.
hanging judge, you think
Yeah.
he watched every one of those hangings? He was cloaked in the power of the federal government, and here
79.
he is, like 70,
79.
like that. He's not an outlaw.
Yeah.
He's enforcing the law, and
Yeah.
he's got a higher body count
Yeah.
than any of these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
It's
little
it
weird.
makes you think. It makes you think about criminal justice.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So again, like we said before, kind of getting Reeves cannot read or write. He can't do that. So a lot of times when he would like bring people like his posse men on,
Mm-hmm.
he would make them like read for him, and like they would have to like he'll go to a telegraph person, and he would like he would kind of, what is it called, annotate, or you kind of say what people needed to write down for him and send it to the telegraph. What'd you say?
Dictate?
Yeah, dictate. He would dictate to them. Also, he doesn't like he can't read or write, but he like knows Bible quotes by heart. And this is the thing. This is a little flair that they said about him. A lot of the stuff he's arresting people on is like introducing, which is just introducing liquor into the Indian territory. It's by far the most of like I've been through all these crimes that he's arresting people for, and it seems like the traffic tickets of that day.
Yeah. Okay.
Like it's a serious thing for like you, because you're introducing liquor into the native community. But it just seems like that bullshit. It's just like petty drug laws, and of course that was like most of what he did. Like he would catch murders, he would catch the assaults, he would catch like the real like deal crime that he did all that. But it was his logs were chock full of introducing.
But to fill the quotas, he's busting acne covered weirdos with too many gallons of shine, right?
Yeah,
in the little caravan. He's scared, he doesn't know his rights, any of that.
Any gallons of shine in the Indian territory.
No gallons of shine?
No gallons of shine. A lot of these places are dry. So
it fucking sucks.
No. So kind of get into like what he actually would operate. Why like he like was known for like using disguises and shit, which is like weird now to think about. He was like, so what's one time he was trying to track these two outlaws that were brothers, and then he like went to their mom's house. Mm-hmm. And like acted like he was like a poor downtrodden guy. Like, can I have a bite to eat? Da. And the mom like lets him in, and then fucking after like they've eaten, and like the two outlaws are there, and he fucking like lays down and goes to sleep, and then he handcuffs them in the middle of the night, completely betraying the trust.
Yeah.
Of this poor mom, and then fucking and then waits till the morning, and then kind of gathers the two guys, and he rides off with them, and the mom like follows him for 3 miles, like yelling at him. Okay. You know what I mean?
Cool, right on. I mean, good. How do you cuff somebody in their sleep? They can't have been in the same room. Then they must have been sleeping in separate rooms, because if one of them feels himself getting cuffed, I feel like I would wake up unless I was super plastered. But there's no alcohol because he's been busting all that shit.
I mean, he cuffs them to each other.
Oh.
So okay. Like they like he like here's the thing. A lot of these stories are from like, you know, they're legend, and then some of them are kind of but then there's some of them are legend, and then some of them are like the actual like verified stuff that they turned in on their logs or whatever.
Yeah.
But can you really trust their logs?
But you can. That's just you can lie.
Taking their word for it.
You know, it happens all the time. You know, like, oh, he had a gun. He drew on me. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sure, he did.
Yeah. So kind of, and like most of his stories kind of take that kind of route. Like he's pulling on people, he's drawing on people. Sometimes people are drawing on him, and he's getting the first draw. He's very quick off the draw. He's very quick to pull. Like he'll pull a gun on you if he needs to, and it's just this dude running around Oklahoma in the Indian Territory, which is interestingly enough like all these native tribes, but then again, these 5 civilized tribes, or civilized quotes around that again, who have like a lot of black members of their tribe. So he's arresting like black people, he's arresting native people, and he's arresting kind of white outlaw figures. And you know, there's a couple of stories about him that are strange. In 1884, he shoots his cook, which is the interesting story, is that he gets in an argument and he shoots his cook, William Leach. And now witnesses say that they're around a campfire. Leach's dog eats meat out of the skillet. Reeves threatens to kill the dog. Leach says, "If you kill my dog, then I'll kill." He said, "I'll kill Bass, or I'll kill your horse, kill Bass's horse."
The white one.
Yeah, the white one. He changed his horses a lot. He changed his horses from time to time, not a lot. And then Bass then shoots Leaf in the shoulder and neck area. And witnesses also say that the Reeves-Leach disagreement was also because Bass hated Leach's cooking.
Okay.
And Bass, what?
Nothing.
And Bass like claimed it was an accident, and that like his hand and knife accidentally struck the trigger and the gun went off.
Okay, that's bullshit.
Dude's like,
that's bullshit. You hate the man's cooking. There are witnesses around. I pictured this like out in
there are witnesses that said, "Yo, you just got up and shot him." Like they're like, it's not like it was there was a bunch of convicts. They had the whole thing. You know what I mean? It's an outfit. They're about to go back to Fort Smith, and he just shot the cook. And the jury lets Bass off mostly just based on his reputation with a gun, saying if he meant to do it, Leach would have died instantly.
He was infallible.
Yeah, they were saying like, "Yo, if he really meant to shoot you, you would have been killed. You shot you in the head." And that's why he gets off.
His knife accidentally hit
his knife. That's his story. His knife hit the trigger. His knife or his hand hit the trigger because he was like looking at his gun, because he like inspects his gun. And he just like was looking at it, and he had it kind of sat up a certain way, and it just boom.
Okay, so he was just cleaning. He was cleaning the gun.
It was an accident.
He was pointing it at Leach, and it just happened to go off while he was cleaning the gun. Yeah. And there was a knife somewhere in the mix.
This is the 1884 version of somehow he got to my gun in the police car and he just got shot in the head. It's crazy.
It's crazy, man.
It's crazy how these things happen.
It's like next level, you know, because you can bring a knife to a knife fight. Mm-hmm. You can bring a knife to a gunfight, and then you've lost. You can bring a gun to a gunfight, and then you can use a knife to fire a gun at somebody, and then you've achieved enlightenment. You know, that's peak. Peak this metaphor, you know. Peak this sequence, whatever.
So the jury let him off, and they also said like, "Oh, he didn't flee, and he like continued to perform his duties," but like, they may have shot that man, and y'all just let him off
over nothing
because y'all are all scared of him and how good he is with a gun. Like they're all like, "Yeah, dog, he would have killed you instantly if he meant." I seen him
if he meant to do it. What was the beef with the dog? Like that seems kind of like a drastic was
licking off the skillet, and that's just nasty, dude.
I mean, yeah, it's gross. It's not ideal. Had they already been served their food? Is he like cooking the food, and then the dog comes over? Okay,
yeah,
all right,
yeah,
because that's a little gross. That's gross.
Yeah, but
if you were to just like, I'm gonna kill your dog if you feed it any food, it's a little like, calm down, you know?
Yeah. Is it worth shooting somebody though?
Not exactly. I don't think it's like the dogs misbehave, you know, maybe it's a stray, who knows?
So kind of moving forward, he's constantly like going out on these like 30-day long hauls, Oklahoma, serving Ritz, not saying much.
I eat some grits for breakfast, and I serve the Ritz.
Yeah.
Buy lunch. All right.
And everybody's cooking for him well because they remember what happened to the last guy.
Because they're scared.
And so, kind of what's going on in Oklahoma at this time. In 1887, you have the Dawes Act. It cuts the Indian territories up, and every native family is basically given 160-acre plots, and then surplus Indian land or indigenous land would go to kind of the native the U.S. settlers that are coming to Oklahoma, because this is kind of the last of like the frontier-esque type territories that hasn't been settled. Quotes, heavy quotes around that.
Because we finally decided that we actually did want Oklahoma.
Yeah. No, that all bullshit.
We're just going to set it aside for the indigenous. So it's like, we actually do kind of want this piece. I mean, we'll still give you your nations and your reservations or whatever. But aside from that, we're going to take everything else.
The nation. This is part of breaking up the nations into like smaller, like into like privately owned things So like this is part of like breaking them up into like even smaller things. Where they're more privately owned citizens.
Whittling away at what few acres already exist.
Yeah. Also during this time, you're going to have a lot of black towns. The kind of the old black towns of the old West, which is like all black towns. And specifically in Oklahoma, that were like old Western towns, such as Langston and Guthrie. And this is happening, I feel like, because it's the federal territory. And Jim Crow is basically happening everywhere else in the United States. So they're like, black people are finding a little bit of freedom in Oklahoma, and that Oklahoma, because of the native populations that already have black people, they maybe have looser laws on as far as all the racial kind of stuff that's going on everywhere else in the U.S. in the 1880s, 1890s.
Well, it's like another prong of the Great Migration, I guess. It's like, why go north? Like if you're a black person in Arkansas, it seems like a longer journey to go north when you could just go to Oklahoma.
You could just go to Oklahoma, man. Around 1889, Bass Reeves goes to Paris, Texas.
Rootin' tootin'. All right.
He starts operating out of Paris, Texas. Here's the thing. He leaves his family during this time, and he just goes to Paris, Texas. His wife stays in Van Buren. And again, one thing I should mention, he stops becoming a ranger for a little bit. Not a ranger. He stops becoming a marshal for a little bit because he killed somebody, and then he's reinstated as a ranger.
He killed Leach. Is that why he's like put on probation, I guess?
Basically, like put on probation, but then he like becomes a marshal a little bit later anyway. So that's not that big of a deal apparently to kill your cook. So he starts kind of working out of the Paris, Texas court, and it's kind of showing it's adjusting. It's because Oklahoma territory is open, right? And Indian territory is becoming a smaller and smaller thing, and that's kind of more what he's focused on working is Indian territory and kind of the border towns that exist around the Indian territory, because you have the split up of Oklahoma and Indian territory. You have the split up of kind of this liquored state where like there's more alcohol, and then like Indian territory is dry. So whiskey towns pop up. You have Keogh Falls, Violet Springs, the Corner, and they're all in like this county called Pottawatomie County. And within them, these saloons pop up, and they're called last chance saloons because they're the last chance for you to get liquor before you go into the Indian territory if you're a cowboy. You know what I mean? If you're going to work a haul, you're going to be doing cattle.
Yeah, drives, and you don't know when you'll be
back. So this is the last chance to get liquor in this last chance alone.
Yeah, this is like pretty much like the dispensaries they have in Colorado now, just immediately set up on the other side of the state line. Like, all right, pop on in, or just first chance. If you only came here to re-up or whatever, here you go.
This is it. Because on the other side of that.
You wouldn't think, like the Kansas-Colorado border, and then right on the other side of Colorado, right when you drive past Kansas, there's probably a dispensary in some crummy ass town that nobody wants to live in. But I bet you that location
is
raking it in. They're probably doing very well. So
much fucking money. So these places, of course, would attract outlaws because they were seen as this in-between land in between the Indian Territory and the Oklahoma Territory, which is becoming its own thing. And they're like, so like there's like a lot of outlaws, and that's what attracts Bass Reeves, of course, because he's tracking outlaws. He still has his writs.
Still got the writs.
And I still gotta go where the writ take me.
I gotta go where I'm just a feather blowing in the wind of the writ.
the writ. Look, I'm just a man drawn to that writ.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a story from Dr. Jesse.
He who casts, let he who is without sin cast the first stone.
And then
I got a writ.
Yeah. You know? You're really catching. You're really characterizing.
I'm doing it.
You're doing him.
Wait.
There's a story from Dr. Jesse Mooney about kind of Bass Reeves' times.
And then Belial lied with his sister, and the spawn was born from her pustulant orifice. When you get into the weirder,
you get into the weirder parts of the Bible, like it's just like
the weird.
I don't know.
Whoa, what's going on?
This doesn't really correspond to what I'm talking about right now because I'm serving a writ for just like for revenue laws, but
it's been on my mind lately. What does it mean?
So there's a story from like the kind of Last Chance Saloon era from Dr. Jesse Mooney about Bass Reeves. Dr. Jesse Mooney knows Bass through Belle Starr, who's an outlaw queen of Oklahoma, Confederate spy, who like Bass Reeves is friendly with. Now, is he friendly with her for because they're just kind of compadres on opposite sides of the law? Is part of Bass Reeves not really ever discussing his Union service, maybe part of like how he exists in this Confederate aura or around these Confederate people? We'll never know. That's going to be something that kind of is lost to the history of somebody a historian needs to kind of look at. But Dr. Jesse Mooney has a recollection of Bass from this time. He gets a telegraph, I'm pretty sure, to come, and that Bass Reeves has been shot in the leg at one of the Last Chance saloons. And he goes into the Last Chance saloon, and Bass Reeves it's like kind of half sitting down, half standing up.
He was shot in the leg. How good was the cook is the real question.
No, I mean, look, he's gone. Look, they just cooks on this docket, all right?
He just cooks on this docket.
Like, he goes, so Dr. Mooney goes in, and he's like, what happened, Bass? And what happened, Bass? He's like, and Bass Reeves is just like, just another one of these young cowboys. Yeah, you could, who want to try me. And he says this, which I think is the best line I've heard, Western line I've heard in a while. He was like, yeah, he sure could pull it fast, but didn't know you got to do two things. You got to pull it fast. You got to shoot it straight.
All right, man. You got to pull it fast and you got to pull it fast and shoot it straight.
Yeah.
Where do you put the inflection on that? There's so many choices you could make with that line.
He's saying this while there's like a dead young cowboy right there.
You gotta pull it fast, and maybe you could punch the and.
Yeah,
you gotta pull it fast, and
you gotta shoot it straight. Right? That's the truth. Everybody talks about this quick draw, like, oh, you can pull, you gotta pull it fast, but you gotta shoot it straight.
Listen, man, I'll tell you what, I have a very quick draw. All right, I just can't hit shit.
Yeah,
I'll tell you, I can't hit a damn thing.
No,
I can
pull it.
I can pull it out and squeeze it pretty fast.
Yeah, but
I'm not gonna hit anything.
I might shoot myself.
Probably gonna hit my foot and have to get it amputated.
So kind of on the back of that, Bass is existing in Oklahoma, is kind of moving with the times. As Indian Territory shrinks and becomes almost non-existent, and it's kind of the other nations, but he starts to kind of be more defined by his service as a police officer, and the kind of the deputy U.S. Marshal, then a police officer working in Muskogee, Oklahoma.
Ogie from Muskogee.
Yeah, that place, which which is interesting because he's become a cop with kind of like a urban cop with rural duties. He's like now more of it's a little bit like a sheriff, I would say, but he still kind of is the deputy U.S. Marshal. So, and the thing about Okie from Muskogee and that like whole like idea of Muskogee. I didn't know Muskogee was like a hub for Black people. Um, in you know in the you know in the in the in the 1890s, early 1900s, and you have like a lot of jazz musicians that come out of Muskogee in later years.
That's really
Um,
cool.
and there's also something about Muskogee is that you have, of course, you have that white population that's kind of filtering in, and you have a native population that's there. But then you have like this, you have a Black population, but the Black population is two pronged. It's native Black people who think of themselves as more native. They think of themselves as more Creek or Cherokee. And then you have Black people who are freedmen who have came from other states to come here. And those two sides kind of butt heads every now and then. And it's a very interesting examination of the world in Black Gun, Silver Star. Um, in 1902, this is kind of the story that's kind of most known about Bass Reeves. It's going to be the story about when he arrests his son for murder. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So this story is interesting just because oh man, it's just it's interesting. So Benny Reeves is Bass Reeves' son, I think from his first marriage. Bass Reeves is remarried by now. And Benny Reeves has a wife who is like a native African American, or kind of like is one of those kind of belongs to like a tribe and everything, and is also African American. He finds her cheating once, right? And when he finds her cheating, he like forgives her. It's fine or whatever. And then like he tells his dad about that he found her cheating with another guy. And Bass Reeves just is like, oh, I would have shot them both.
Damn.
And so the next time Benny Reeves kind of, it's kind of unclear what happens here because there's a lot of different stories. Benny Reeves either sees his wife again in the bed with that same person or somebody else, or he sees his wife just on the street, and she like denies him, or like she just like is not putting up with his bullshit, and because he was like a jealous asshole. It's somewhere in the middle. It's somewhere, or it's either one of those. He ends up Benny Reeves just ends up shooting his wife 2 times, once in the face.
Jesus.
Either at their home or somewhere. It's a bunch of different stories on it. So Bass Reeves is ends up I think he's at his kind of boss's office, U.S. Marshal Leo Bennett, and Marshal Bennett calls him in and is like, "Yo, I have a." He didn't say "yo." That'd be kind of dope if he did. He's like, "Bass." He's like, "Bass, there's a writ for your son." And he's like, "I'm gonna have he's like, and he kind of, and Bennett's like, "I'm gonna try to figure out somebody else to get him. We'll be safe with them. We'll try." And then Bass is just like feeling. He's like very prideful in this moment, and he just goes, and he's like, "Give me the writ. Give me the writ."
Damn.
he did. He's like, "Give me the goddamn writ," and he goes after his son. And his son is like, "Don't come." His son is like telling people, "Don't come. I'm gonna kill myself." Like his son is being like, his son is a criminal on the run. Dude just killed his wife.
How old is his son at the time?
His son's like in his 20s. His son's early 20s. I'm pretty sure. So that's what I think. I'm pretty sure. So Bass goes after his son, and he after he said, "Give me the writ."
Mm-hmm. Give me the writ.
And he finds where his son is, and he tells Benny, he's like, "You are no more my son, because you have committed a crime, and I will bring you in dead or alive."
That's kind of intense, bro. This is your son.
Yeah, this is your son, dude. I don't give a fuck, dude. That's what he says right there.
He's all about the law.
Shit, G.
He's all about the law.
He's all about the law. It's this weird commitment to the law, because basically at that time, Benny has, and if I'm doing like a more psychological diagnosis, Benny has challenged his reputation and who he is by being a criminal. He challenged his whole aura. It's the only way he's earned respect in this society.
You get into some of that classic toxic masculine, some of that Oedipal bullshit. In a way, Benny wants to kill his father by denying his father, by attacking by killing his identity as a lawman, by becoming a criminal. And I'm spitting it. I'm killing you, Dad.
Yeah. And then but Bass Reeves won't let that happen.
Bass Reeves.
I'll bring you in dead alive. You think to tell your son, I'll bring you in dead or alive. I don't care. I don't care.
Tough love, man. Yeah. That's tough love.
So
that is some boomer. I know he wasn't a boomer, but that is some boomer.
I'm willing to sacrifice my goddamn son for my own goddamn ego.
My own identity.
That's right. Like I definitely want to kill my son so I can
probably quoted Abraham at him on the way back.
I just love that, just for those two lines of, give me the goddamn writ. I'll bring you in dead or alive. I don't care if you're not my son no more. So
I'll say you're grounded.
Yeah. Also, you're grounded.
No Xbox for three months.
And they did ground him. He got his son was arrested, convicted, and sent to Leavenworth. And so
Leavenworth sucks, dude. Leavenworth is like
it's at the Leavenworth
case. It is like the Rikers of this time, I think. Rikers, isn't that the badass?
Rikers is just a jail. Well, Rikers is the New York jail. It is quintessentially New York. In that,
I don't know if it's a nastier one though. I guess that's the one they always say on SVU. That's what I'm going. They're always like, "We'll send you to Rikers, bro," and I'm just like, "Oh fuck, man." Rikers, they drop Rikers, bro. You better talk, you know.
Rikers is quintessentially New York, because you ask the same thing about New York when you see like the subways that you ask about Rikers. You're like, "This is still a first world country, right? What the fuck is going on here?"
It's messy. It's dirty. I don't know. Yeah. This wasn't on the brochure.
Yeah, it's not on the brochure. So, of course, he's arrested since Leavenworth. He serves almost 12 years, which is a little light for killing your wife point blank range. Yeah. People would sign release petitions for him, saying, "Of course, I'll sign it. He has the blood," in reference to Bass, saying that
he's a cop's kid.
Yeah, he's a cop's kid. That's fine. Like, because Bass Reeves was a legend of this area. So like, no, of course. And
did Bass sign it though?
I don't know, Doug.
That would be the ultimate.
I don't know, Doug. You know? At this point, Benny like lives out the rest of it. Like, he gets out of jail and like does not have, basically, like he doesn't have a family ever. He just works at a restaurant because the kid did kill his family. He did murder his wife.
That'll kind of.
And that is kind of how that goes. So Bass Reeves kind of ends his life walking a beat as a Muskogee cop. And he's like, he has an assistant who carries his guns for him as he walks the beat. Carries his 6-shooters in a little bag.
Like a caddy?
Yeah, almost like a caddy for revolvers.
For weapons.
Yeah, for fucking
big
weapons.
Ass rifles. Okay, cool.
A little more just about Bass Reeves. Fan of the gun butts sticking forward in the cross draw. So he was all about pulling the shit like this. Like, you know what I mean? He had the gun
cross.
Yeah,
I see.
Like pulling across himself and shooting like that. He was also known to keep I think it was a third gun in a holster right up here.
Yeah.
Also known for using a shotgun. Of course, with the legend about him with the Winchester and his deadly efficiency got him off a trial. Bass Reeves died in January 12th, 1910 in Muskogee, Oklahoma, of kidney disease. Having arrested more than 3,000 dangerous criminals, it killed 14 men.
Damn. It's
a pretty goddamn good record, dude.
Is it an actual record? Like, has anybody arrested more than?
I don't know about the arrest record, but I know for the lawman, it would technically make him the most dangerous lawman of the Wild West.
Okay,
And
cool.
I would like to read, and just to show you how racist Oklahoma was at the time, I would like to read an obituary. He had a lot of like good obituaries, but just to kind of show you like how undeniable of a lawman he was and how racist Oklahoma was, I'm going to read a little outtake from the some of the Muskogee Phoenix.
Okay. I was gonna say, is this from the Lexington Caucasian?
It's very
Or
similar. It's
the
very
bigotry times,
it's very similar. The Bass Reeves, this is just out quotes. So first it kind of goes to who he was. Like, Bass Reeves was a unique character, absolutely fearless and having no master but duty. The placing of a writ in his hands for service meant the letter of the law would be fulfilled, though his life paid the penalty. And then later in this article, it says black-skinned, illiterate, offspring of slaves whose ancestors were savages. The simple old man's life stands white and pure along, but that's how it goes.
Whoa.
Just
Whoa.
a little bit after
Whoa.
that. So I think, and I read that to kind of say, like, this is kind of what happens. I feel like it's to his legacy. Jim Crow happens and like kind of destroys any reality that there could be a black lawman of this stature. And because black people aren't supposed to be in charge, they're not supposed to arrest white people. They're not supposed to do any of that stuff. They're not supposed to be the top lawman. They can't be. So Jim Crow,
that goes against our whole ideology of
Yeah.
white supremacy.
Yeah, and it comes in and kind of crushes what was supposed to be, and what is, if you're looking at like an Old West lawman, notwithstanding any problems with policing and all that stuff, but you're looking at an Old West lawman and like one of the greatest of that kind, was kind of besmudged by Jim Crow. A legacy lost to Jim Crow, I would say, but but
reclaimed.
But reclaimed.
But the book,
by the book, by Black Gun Silver Star, by Art T. Burton, and by Hard Fry History. And we want to thank you guys for listening. That's been our Bass Reeves episode. Guys,
and our Western
package. So Jesus.
I'm sad,
the beginning of
Black History Month. That's right. Yep.
We're in a lot of things right now. We're in a lot of things.
End of an era.
But
also beginning of a new era.
Henry, who are we doing next week?
Next week we are doing Fred Hampton.
Oh, it's gonna be a good one. And look, and did we set it up to where you would get like a mildly redeemable police figure before we got into the dirt of Fred? Did we set it up that way?
Did we set it up?
We didn't, but it did work out that way.
That just worked out that way. We're not that good. All right, come on.
So we get into the shit show that is going to be the Chicago Police Department and the FBI. Okay.
When the FBI could do anything, everything it wanted. There was no limit to what the FBI could or could not do. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be a doozy. It's not a doozy. It's not the right word. It's gonna be a good episode.
And we might do a bonus.
We might do a bonus. Yeah.
Closing out the West. Look for it because we gotta chop this. What does it mean? What does it mean?
Mm-hmm.
What does it all mean, man? I don't know.
I'm
distraught. I've been distraught.
Okay. So, guys, again, follow us and like all our stuff. Share all the stuff. Follow us on Hard Fight History on Instagram and on Facebook. Follow us at HFH Podcast on Twitter. Follow us at Hard Fight History on YouTube. Henry, what's your social media?
You can find me, Henry E. Price, on Instagram. It's Henry Price on Twitters.
And you guys can find me at Joshua B. Stokes on Instagram and Twitter, and Joshua Stokes on Facebook. Thank you, guys. We love you. Be safe. Happy Black History Month. And we'll see you next time.
That's right.
Peace.